Good morning, everyone. Today, we will continue with the chapter 4. In this video, we're going to solve some exercises from your book and the Smart in Chemistry guide. Let's review some ideas together. A pure substance can't be split into other substances by physical means of separation. A pure substance is characterized by a specific physical constant criteria. An element contains one type of element. A compound substance contains two or more types of elements. The chemical elements are classified in metals and nonmetals. So matter can be a pure substance or a mixture. Let's review some points. A pure substance can't be split into other substances by physical means of separation. A pure substance is characterized by specific physical constants criteria. An element contains one type of element. A compound substance contains two or more types of elements. The chemical elements are classified in metals and nonmetals. Matter can be pure substance or mixture. Pure substance can be element or a compound. An element contains one type of chemical elements. A compound contains two types or two or more different types of chemical elements. Mixture is made up of two or more pure substances. Mixture can be homogeneous, made up of one phase, or heterogeneous, made up of two or more phases. This is the periodic table. Elements are arranged in this periodic table, and each element has a name and it is represented by a symbol. For example, here we have H. H is for hydrogen, C is for carbon, Ca is for calcium, and this way. So each element in this periodic table has a specific symbol. The chemical elements are classified according to this periodic table as metals and nonmetals. Here we have, this is the scale, the red line or the red state, this is the scale. The chemical elements that are below the scale are known as metal, and the elements that are above the scale are nonmetals. So here we have metals. Metals are below the scale line and nonmetals are above the scale. So each element occupies a box in this table and it is represented by a chemical symbol. Elements are classified into metals and nonmetals. Metals are located below and to the left of the stair-step line. This is the stair-step line. It is the red line. And these elements are all solid at room temperature except mercury, which is liquid at room temperature. Okay? And nonmetals are located below and to the right of the stair-step line. This is the stair-step line. So they are located above and to the right of this line. And at room temperature, nonmetals can exist as solid, liquid, or gas. Exercise 3, page 63. Classify each of the following chemical substances as an element or a compound. An element contains one type of chemical element, right? While compound contains two or more different types of elements. Let's see the first example. Here we have H2O. H2O, it's made up of hydrogen and oxygen. So, is it element or a compound? It's compound because it is made up of two different types of chemical elements. Here we have Fe. Fe is element. O3, we have only one kind of chemical element, which is oxygen. So oxygen is also an element. C2H4. C is for carbon and H for oxygen. So this is made up of carbon and hydrogen. It's a compound. Cu, it's copper. It's an element. CO2, it's made up of carbon and O for oxygen. So carbon and oxygen, it's a compound. Mg is for magnesium. It's made up of only one type of chemical element. So it is element. Now let's move to Smart in Chemistry. Exercise number 1, page 22. Classify the following chemicals in the table below. Have elements, metal, non-metal, and compounds. Sulfuric acid, it's made up of H2SO4. So it's hydrogen, sulfur, and oxygen. H2SO4. So it's a compound. Butane, it's made up of, it's a hydrocarbon. It's made up of carbon and hydrogen. So it's a compound. Bromine, it is made up of one element. So it's an element. Is it metal or non-metal? It is found to the right side of the line on the periodic table, so it is non-metal. Aluminium, it's element, it's metal. It is found to the right side of the scale or the red line, so it is metal. Magnesium chloride, it's made up of magnesium and chloride, so it's a compound. Water, it's H2O, right? So it's made up of hydrogen and oxygen. It's a compound. Oxygen. So it's non-metal. Sodium, it's an element. It's metal. Iron is also an element. It's metal. Here we have gold. Gold, it's an element. It's metal. Nitrogen is also an element. It is non-metal. Carbon monoxide, it's made up of carbon and monoxide. So it's carbon and oxygen compound. Potassium sulfate, potassium and sulfate. So it's a compound. Let's move to exercise 5, page 23. A grade 8 student was asked to determine the nature of an unknown substance X. Here we have substance X. Substance X has a rectangular shape when alloyed, yellow color, and it is solid. The melting point of X is constant, and this is its value. Experiments show that substance X can be hammered into thin sheets. Moreover, a mass of 1 gram of substance X can be drawn into a thin wire with length 1 kilometer. Substance X doesn't rust in humid air and it is mixed with copper in jewelers. Alloyed means to form an alloy when this substance is mixed with another chemical element to form a mixture or to form an alloy. So that's alloyed. Part 1. Select from the above text 2 intensive physical properties of X. What physical properties of X are mentioned here? Where we have the melting point of X, which is 1063 degrees Celsius, and its color is yellow. Part 2. Select from the above text two extensive physical properties of X. What's the difference between intensive mentioned in part 1 and extensive mentioned in part 2? Intensive properties are independent of the amount of the substance, while the extensive properties depend on the amount of substance present. Okay, so select from the above text two extensive physical properties of X. Extensive depend on the amount. So we have the mass here, which is 1 gram, and the length, which is 1 kilometer. Part 3, identify the nature of X. Is it pure or mixture? Since the melting point is constant, so it's a pure substance. Part 4, specify whether substance X is a metal or non-metal. Is it metal or non-metal? Is it metal? Yes, it's metal. Why? Because it can be hammered into thin sheets. This is one of the properties of the metals. They can be hammered into thin sheets. Number 5, substance X could be one of the following substances: silver, sulfur, mercury, butane, or gold. Identify substance X. It can be alloyed. It's yellow in color and it is solid. Since substance X is yellow in color, so it could be gold. Now, exercise 6, it's also on page 23. Sodium chloride, also known as a table salt or halate, is a chemical compound. Sodium chloride is the salt which is responsible for the salinity of oceans and seas. It is the main ingredient of edible salt, and it is commonly used as a food preservative. Sodium chloride is soluble in water. It has a crystal form and it is transparent, having a white color. It is odorless, but it has a good taste. When dissolved in water, it makes water conduct electricity. Its density is 2,200 kilogram per meter cube, and its melting point is 801 degrees Celsius. It is used in manufacturing of glass, textiles, and soap. It is also used to melt ice on roads in winter. The electrolysis of sodium chloride produces sodium element and chlorine gas. Part 1. Name the salt found in seawater. It is known as sodium chloride. So it's sodium chloride. Specify two intensive properties of sodium chloride. Intensive means this property doesn't depend on the amount of matter, right? So the two intensive properties of sodium: its density and its melting point. Part 3, pick out from the above passage a compound other than sodium chloride and indicate the elements forming it. We have water. When it is mixed with water, when it makes water conduct electricity. So it makes water conduct electricity. The other compound mentioned here is water. It's made up of hydrogen and oxygen. Part 4, pick up from the above passage a metallic element and a non-metallic element. Metallic element is sodium, while non-metallic element it's chlorine. Part 5. Pick out from the above text two uses of table salt. What are the uses of the table salt mentioned here? It's main ingredient of edible salt and it is used as a food preservative. So it's edible and food preservative. And also in part 5, we can say that it is used in the manufacturing of the glass, textile, and soap. Sorry. Thank you for watching. Please, I want you to copy the answers in your copybook and review them very well. See you soon, inshallah.